Hey YouTube, you have Leonard here. Bring guys and gals, Kanojo Okarishimasu. Rent a Girlfriend, we're here. Chapter 241, the review portion. So of course everyone, you can find my live reaction on the Twitch side, link in the description box down below. But with that, let's get started. So I just finished the chapter maybe like 5-6 minutes ago, and not much happened, which is a little frustrating, but nonetheless I actually thought this was a very good chapter. Even though in the early portions of it, a lot of it was kind of like fluff, laughter, but we need that in a chapter. I think we got a little bit too much because the ending portions of this chapter were actually really good. And actually, the more I think about this, the more I think maybe this video will be a little bit longer than I think. I think I should be doing this video in 6 minutes. It's probably not going to happen. When I look at the early parts of this chapter, Kazuya cannot get out of his head, and it's honestly hilarious, except when he goes into full-on perverted mode. And I made a joke during the live reaction for those who watch Konosuba. He was giving me like these weird, creepy Kazuma vibes, where like he's imagining him and like Chizuru and like him seducing her, and he's just like, I was like, what are you doing, Kazuya? It's cringe. It's so cringe, but it's Kazuya. At this point, I've grown to accept it. It is what it is. I will happily take those scenes than getting 5 pages of Kazuya monologuing about how beautiful Chizuru is. That actually gets me annoyed. But that aside, Kazuya had the funniest faces I think I've seen in a long time in this manga, as he's thinking about all these different things with Chizuru. And all jokes aside, it kind of makes sense because we know that Kazuya is the type of person who he overreacts, especially when it comes to Chizuru. He can't get out of his own way. And even the perverted thoughts aside, just little simple stuff. Like when she's walking over, he's thinking to himself, she's committing or she's doing an investigation right now. She's trying to figure out how she feels about me and that this is worthwhile. And he's just imagining, like, why does she sit over here? Why is she looking at the books? Is she judging the AC? Is she going to think that I just burn money? Is she going to think I'm weird because my books aren't organized? And I'm just like, Kazuya, breathe. Kazuya, just breathe, my boy. But I thought that was actually really good. It shows you that from Kazuya's standpoint, he really is thinking about the Chizuru stuff. He doesn't take it for granted, the fact that she's earnestly trying to look into the relationship and how she feels. And it's causing anxiety, but I think it's a well-placed anxiety because he cares about Chizuru. It makes sense that he's going to be kind of a little bit crazy. It's a bit much, but it makes sense and is in line with Kazuya's character. But now, as we kind of progress through the chapter, this is where we get the really good stuff that I want to talk about. Ruka. Ruka doesn't appear in this chapter, but she is discussed. Now, I'll start with the bad before I get to the good. And I keep saying this, and it goes back to what I still think is a horrible flaw in the manga right now. That 3-month time skip is the worst thing that could have happened in the manga, in my personal opinion. I hated the 3-month time skip. I think it creates a lot of story inconsistencies, and I will continue to talk about that until I go blue. It's kind of ridiculous. And we got that little bit here with the Ruka stuff. The bad is that Kazuya's talking about, oh, Ruka and the Hawaiians and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but 3 months have passed by. And all this stuff happened literally in story, but what happened this 3-month gap? They're making it out to be essentially that nothing has changed, everything is status quo, that he was still seeing Ruka, but he wasn't really seeing Ruka because he was in depression mode. They don't tell us about the conversations that they had, about Ruka being worried about him. It's like everything is at a standstill, and it's like the 3 months never happened, and we're just moving along. But that's 3 months worth of time, and no matter how much I read this, I know that that's what Deiji's trying to do and just gloss over it. It really bothers me that that's what's happened, because we should be getting more in terms of his relationship with Ruka, or perhaps lack thereof it, because Ruka hasn't been around, at least to our eyes. And if she was around, tell us about those interactions since we skipped over it. Was Ruka worried about Kazuya? Have they been talking more or less? What does she do? So that's the bad. That is the bad, and at the end of the day, that still gets me frustrated. But that aside, the good of the Ruka conversation needs to happen is, again, Kazuya and Chizuru, more so Chizuru, but both of them, they have to have a meeting of the minds with Ruka and unravel this whole entire situation. I said this before, I love Ruka's character. She's really grown on me throughout the course of the manga. I used to dislike her and found her annoying. Now I'm a Ruka stan. I support Ruka. But realistically speaking, Kazuya, he likes Chizuru. Chizuru likes Kazuya. She's not truly sure how she feels in terms of like if she wants to reciprocate these feelings or not, but there's something there. And regardless of what Kazi and Chizu decide to do, whether it's date or not date, that's their prerogative. But it has nothing to do with Ruka whatsoever, as long as they talk to her. If they have a conversation with Ruka and they are very clear, Kazuya, I don't want to be with you, Ruka. Chizu, I like you as a friend, you're great, but I do like Kazuya and I'm putting this out there and I want to pursue things. Potentially, Chizuru should back, and not Chizuru, Ruka should back off. And if Ruka doesn't back off, that's fine, but then she's liable to getting hurt, and you shouldn't care whatsoever about Ruka at the end of the day and how she perceives things. You've not given Ruka a raw deal. Ruka has made a conscious decision to be in this situation and deal with it despite knowing for chapters upon chapters how Kazuya feels about Chizuru and how he doesn't like her. So I can't have sympathy for Ruka. And again, I don't think Ruka wants sympathy. Keep that in mind. Ruka doesn't want sympathy as far as I'm concerned. But they're turning her into a sympathetic character when she doesn't need it. She's in high school, yes, but she's an adult. And she's made a decision to still love Kazuya and is very respectable, even though I disagree with it. And I just hate the fact that Chizuru and also to another degree Kazuya are tiptoeing around their own relationship in an effort not to hurt Ruka without ever even talking to her. It blows my mind. But by at least addressing that, it allows for good things to happen, because I do think we're going to get a Ruka Chizuru conversation, Kazuya in there as well. State everything, clean break, and we go from there. Now the Chizuru stuff. Chizuru, in my opinion, has ever since this whole 3-month time skip and she finally made the change in her mindset, I've loved her character so much. Chizuru's been honestly amazing, love it, and I'm happy. I really do enjoy what Chizuru has been doing. And even this chapter, the little subtle stuff. She notices that as she mentions like not wanting to hurt Ruka, we have to be careful, that Kazuya gets dejected. He gets sad, he's upset. And then she notices that and she's just like, but it doesn't change how I'm going to handle things with you. I'm not going to abandon you. I've made that very clear. I'm going to give you an answer for all that you have done. And I love that so much. And you see that for Kazuya, it struck a chord with him. So much so that he even says again that I truly do, I love her. And I thought that was beautiful. I really did like that. She's just becoming more and more self-aware, not only her own feelings, but also what Kazuya is going through. And she doesn't want to cause him undue burden anymore. She doesn't want him to feel upset or like he's not important, because he is important to her. At the bare minimum, whether they date or not, that is something that's very clear. Kazuya matters to Chizuru, and she wants him to understand that. So I love it. And then we get, of course, the cliffhanger. Kazuya asking her if she has plans, likely going to ask her out on a non-rental date, and I'm very excited for that. Bombshell has been dropped, and we see what happens in the next chapter. So that'll be good stuff. Let's look at my chat quickly. Okay. So that, everyone, those are my thoughts. It took over 6 minutes again for a chapter that I thought there wasn't that much happening. I guess this video is going over like 9 minutes at this point in time. But in terms of predictions for next chapter, just very, very quickly, I do predict that they're going to actually have a legitimate date. There might be some hesitancy initially from Chizuru, but I think she's going to, in the end, agree to doing something with Kazuya. And I think it's necessary in terms of slowly breaking down the rental barrier, getting them in more normal circumstances that aren't tied to a rental date and money and all this other stuff. So I'm looking forward to that next chapter. I think it'll be just Chizuru and Kazuya based, kind of like what we got in this chapter, because they need to really develop that bond. And I really, really hope, and I know it's not going to happen anytime soon, I need Kazuya to stop calling her Mizuhara. I need you to call her by at least Chizuru, if not Ichinose. More likely Chizuru, but it is what it is. Anyway, everybody, that's all I got over here. So with that, one more thing on Twitch chat. Went back to early chapters for so long. Miss Chizuru. Hold on. Yes. Okay. So Ichinose is her first name. Yes. Chizuru's her first name. Yeah. But anyway, so with everyone, we're done here. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you liked the video. Subscribe to like my content is greatly appreciated as always. Till the next one, I'm Leonard and I'm out. Take care, everybody, and have a good day. Peace.